Electrical Wizard, How Nikola Tesla Lit Up the World by Elizabeth Rusch, illustrated by Oliver Dominguez. A young inventor's first endeavors are purely instinctive, promptings of an imagination vivid and undisciplined. As we grow older, reason asserts itself, and we become more and more systematic and designing. But those early impulses, though not immediately productive, are of the greatest moment and may shape our very destinies. By Nikola Tesla. The night of Nikola Tesla's birth, lightning zapped, crackled, and flashed overhead. For years after, booming thunder drew the poor Serbian boy to the window of his family's small house. Nikola gazed, mystified, as electrical bolts ricocheted across the sky. One evening, when he was 3, Nikola stroked his cat, Macaque. The cat's fur snapped with tiny sparks. What is it? Nikola wondered. What was it, some kind of wizardry? Electricity, his father explained. The same thing you see through the trees in a storm. Enchanted by the sparking halo his hands had conjured, Nikola wondered what other magic he could perform. When he was 5, Nikola dangled his fingers in a nearby brook. How fast the water moved! How hard it pushed his hand! Nikola had an idea. He found a disc cut from a tree. He poked a hole in the disc, jammed a stick through the hole, then balanced the wheel above the stream. The wooden wheel spun and spun as if under the spell of the water. Nikola began to notice invisible energy everywhere. Even the flight of insects thrummed with power. When he was 9, he built a propeller spun by flying June bugs. Once they were started, he marveled, they continued whirling for hours and hours. As a teenager, Nikola became entranced by a photograph of Niagara Falls' cascading waters. As he remembered his little creek water wheel, a vision flashed into his mind. He imagined giant water wheels, pummeled by Niagara's pounding waters, spinning endlessly. Nikola made a prophecy. Someday, I will turn the power of Niagara Falls into electricity. In college, Nikola eagerly watched a demonstration of a new electrical machine. The professor spun a hand crank, whir, whir, making an alternating current that surged back and forth, with a burst of noisy sparks. Zzz, zzz. The current was forced to move through a wire in only one direction, so it could run a motor. Inspiration flashed. Nikola realized that the motor didn't need to be run by direct current. Alternating current, like the kind created by the hand crank, could power the motor. Sticking with alternating current would be simpler than converting to direct current, and it would eliminate that awful sparking. Nikola suggested this to the class. The professor scoffed. Many people had tried to make motors that could run with alternating current. All had failed. The professor declared, Mr. Tesla will accomplish great things, but he certainly will never do this. But a few days later, certainty washed over Nikola. He would find a way to harness the power of alternating current. The problem of alternating current hummed in Nikola's mind. He took a job climbing telephone poles in Budapest and imagined electrical current that surged back and forth. He invented a loudspeaker for phones and imagined electrical current that surged back and forth. He moved to Paris, where he worked on electrical devices designed by American inventor Thomas Edison. Generators, motors, fuses, and switches, and imagined electrical current that surged back and forth. One day, when he was 26, Nikola went for a walk with a friend. The sun set in a fiery blaze. The buzzing thoughts inside Nikola's head sparked together like a lightning bolt. Suddenly, he understood how to power a motor using alternating current. He saw it all clearly in his mind. Nikola grabbed a stick, waving it like a wand. "See how smoothly it is running?" he gasped. "There is no sparking." "I see nothing," said his friend. "The sun is not sparking. Are you ill?" Nikola dropped to his knees and began drawing a diagram in the dirt. At last, his companion understood how alternating current could spin a motor using magnets, whose poles flipped back and forth, back and forth. Over the next few months, Nikola conjured in his head all the parts of a new electrical system based on alternating current. Night and day, Nikola pictured the machines, designing, testing, and fixing problems he saw. He didn't have to write anything down. He could see it all in his mind. Nikola traveled to Europe, seeking money to build his AC machines. He felt like a fortune teller. The days of candlelight, gas lamps, and direct current were over, he told investors. Not only could alternating current power lights and motors, but could it also travel distances much more cheaply and efficiently than direct current? It could power every house, every business, everything from tiny light bulbs to huge factories. No one believed him. So he sailed to America, where he knew at least one person who would be interested in his ideas: Thomas Edison. 2 days after docking in New York City, Nikola Tesla stepped into the office of his hero. Nikola handed Edison a letter of recommendation written by a mutual friend. It said, "I know 2 great young men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." "What can you do?" Edison asked. Nikola burst into a description of how alternating current could power the world. "Nonsense," Edison scowled. "We're set up for direct current in America. People like it, and it's all I'll ever fool with." Instead of becoming Nikola's partner in electrifying the world, Edison became his greatest rival. Nikola was desperate for money to build his inventions. He invited bankers, business bigwigs, and powerful people like author Mark Twain to his darkened lab for strange demonstrations of the wonders of alternating current. In one demonstration, Nikola held out a simple glass tube. With his other hand, he reached for a wire. "I bring my body in contact with a wire, conveying alternating currents." The audience squirmed at the thought of the shock. When Nikola's hand touched the wire, the tube glowed. Nikola spun slowly so everyone could see that the electrical current traveled across his body to the tube. Then Nikola released the wire and strode away. The tube still coursed with light. The audience gaped in awe. How did the electricity get to the bulb without any wires? Is there, I asked, can there be a more interesting study than that of alternating currents? He asked the audience. Over time, Nikola's fame grew until he raised enough money to build his AC generators and motors. Tesla quickly got to work. He recreated the machines exactly as he imagined them, and as he predicted, they worked perfectly. But Tesla's joy was short-lived. His old rival, Thomas Edison, who already ran a dozen direct current power stations, moved fast to squelch the competition. He blanketed New York with pamphlets. "Alternating current is dangerous," he warned, "even deadly." To prove his point, Edison's associates electrocuted dogs, horses, and even an elephant with alternating current. Direct current is just as deadly, but no one mentioned this in the demonstrations. Edison wouldn't rest until inventors and the public alike were scared away from Nikola's new technology. At the height of the War of the Currents, came the biggest electrical challenge in history. The Chicago World's Fair was to be the first ever fair lit with electricity. People assumed Edison would get the job of wiring the fair. To everyone's surprise, the company, Westinghouse, which would use Nikola's inventions, won the honor. But could they do it? Would Nikola's mysterious inventions safely provide enough electricity to illuminate the entire fair? What if there was so much electricity that a fire started or part of the fair blew up? On opening day, people flooded the fairgrounds. They wandered through the alabaster buildings, gawked at the first Ferris wheel, and flocked to taste strange new foods, shredded wheat cereal, Cracker Jack, and juicy fruit gum. In the Great Hall of Electricity, people gaped over electric lamps, elevators, fans, sewing machines, stoves, and laundry machines, all run with alternating current. But the true test of the electrical system would happen at sunset. As the day ended and night darkened the sky, the President of the United States, Grover Cleveland, turned a golden key. Flash! All at once, 100,000 lamps illuminated the fairgrounds, creating a spectacle of light never before seen anywhere in the world. The crowd went wild. It was a miracle. It was like magic. Back in the Great Hall of Electricity, Nikola stepped onto a stage. Tall, elegant, and proud, he grabbed the end of a wire and flicked a switch. More than 250,000 volts of electricity pulsed through his body, tingling his muscles. The crowd pressed back in alarm, expecting him to be burned or even to die. But Nikola was very much alive. Glimmering in a halo of sparks, he was a marvelous sight to behold. Wonder's baffling explanation we now see in a different light, Nikola exclaimed. The fair had been a triumph, but Nikola had an even more astounding trick up his sleeve. The pulsing, ground-quaking waters of Niagara Falls had haunted him for years. He couldn't shake from his mind the picture of Niagara's pounding water, rotating huge wheels which would spin huge magnets, generating electricity for thousands of homes. Vanishing from the limelight, Nikola toiled for 2 years to turn his vision of spinning wheels into the most gigantic electrical project ever attempted. No one was sure if it would work. No one, except Nikola Tesla, who could picture it all in his mind. Finally, the first huge generator was ready. With a sleight of hand, an engineer diverted Niagara's gushing water toward the turbines. An aluminum factory roared to life. A year later, more turbines and generators joined the throng. Houses shimmered with light. Electricity reached Buffalo, New York, 22 miles away. Railway cars surged forward. I saw my boyhood plan carried out, Nikola marveled, and wondered at the unfathomable mystery of the mind. Nikola's miraculous inventions at Niagara soon electrified the trolleys, subways, and great buildings of New York City, even the blinding lights of Broadway. Not long after, electricity spread to homes and businesses across America. Eventually, Nikola Tesla's electrical wizardry illuminated the world. And it all started with a spark.